Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 67th episode of the Zicast. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Ziax. And today I'm joined by D1 track and field runner, Alyssa Romagnoli.
Hi, guys. Nice to be here. I'm so excited to talk with you.
And I'm excited to have you, and I'd like to shout out episode 36 guest Joe Flynn for technical directing. So, Alyssa, on my show, I interview people and get to know them, and you have a pretty incredible story, so if you don't mind telling us a bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm from Randolph, New Jersey, a nice rural town, about 2 hours away from here. I am a 60 to 800 runner, and I'm also a registered nurse. I graduated in May from Quinnipiac, which is awesome. Got my undergrad in nursing, so I took my boards in June. So I've been a new grad nurse for a while. I currently work per diem in Cheshire called Elam Park in a nursing home, so I pick up shifts here and there. So I'm a D1 athlete. I work and just trying my best to have fun my last year at school.
Yeah, that's what Joe and I are both trying to do too, trying to make the most of this time. And We're both very busy like you are, and what you're doing is incredible. So how about we get into things and I ask you where your running journey started and how that led you to wanting to do it in college.
Well, so I did track between second grade to fifth grade, and I just stopped it because throughout my whole life I was a multi-sport athlete. I did softball, soccer, lacrosse, cross country for a year, basketball. I've done everything under the sun. And then I actually really wanted to do soccer in college. But unfortunately, my end of my freshman year of high school, and then right after a year later, my end of sophomore year of high school, I tore both my ACLs. So it really sucked. And I had surgery for the first ACL from a meniscus tear as well. And then I had the other knee was just ACL. And it was 2017, 2018. And my surgeon said, you know what, Alyssa, I think it's time to hang up the cleats. And you can't do any other sport that goes diagonal. You can't hit anybody. You can't do anything like that. And the only thing you can do is just run. So I was like, honestly, I might as well just try track again. Yes, I did it in elementary school, which you probably don't count that. But I was like, if I can't do anything else and I really want to do a sport in college, I'll start track again. And I actually started track spring of my junior year of high school. So I haven't been doing track that long before college. And usually you get recruited by running throughout all years of high school. So I was very lucky to get picked up after my junior year spring and senior year winter, because track is winter and spring. And I only ran one spring and one winter, then COVID hit. Yeah. So I only ran 1 year in high school, which is crazy. And I'm so lucky to be here because track is about times and your jumps and your distances. And it's like soccer and basketball, the coaches go and watch you. Yeah. I ran the time I needed to run, and it got me where I am today.
That's amazing. And you make the most of kind of what happened to you, tearing your ACLs and then having to pivot sports. So you basically ran track for essentially a year and then did it at a Division I level.
It's crazy. I don't know how I did it, and people keep saying that to me all the time, but I'm so lucky because I didn't think I was going to be able to do any other sport. And luckily for track, I'm not touching anybody or getting hit or anything like that. And unfortunately, I can't do any jumps or hurdles. And I was a really good jumper in distances during workouts. For soccer, we'd see how far we can jump, how high we could jump, and I was always so great at that. And I can't do that now, but at least I just can run. You know?
In a way, would you call it a blessing in disguise?
I think so.
Having those injuries happen and getting to do this.
I would not be here today probably if I didn't tear these ACLs. I think everything happens for a reason. And yes, it was a horrible experience and the worst pain ever, but I love track. It's my second love now besides soccer, and it's upsetting. That's my last year. I wish I could keep doing it.
And it's always incredible how things that seem like a blessing in disguise, things that seem awful, can end up being some of the best things for you.
Exactly.
And usually in sports, it's always fascinating to me because running's usually a punishment. And what fascinates me about runners is that you do that for sports. So to kind of dive into that runner psychology, do you mind telling us the most challenging aspects of running and the most rewarding?
So the most rewarding, I'll start with that, is when after you finish that workout, after you finish that race, you're like, wow, I tried my best. Even if it wasn't a good workout, even if it wasn't a good race, I was like, I did what I could do. And you it's very stressful before and after. So you feel very rewarded. I just did that. Because like you said, other sports are that's their punishment.
Yeah.
But I just feel so much better when it's done. And what was the first one?
Oh, most challenging, most rewarding.
The most challenging is definitely like being an individual sport. I don't have anyone's like backs. No one has my back. And you know when you get onto that line, it's all you. Because yes, you have your coaches around you on the track. You have your teammates cheering you on. But every little decision, every step, everything you think of, you can mess it up in a second. And you can't really hear people because you're such in the zone during the race. And the most I run is the 800, and that's only around like 2 minutes, and right after that, it's over. So that's the part that sucks, but it's fun still.
Yeah, if you don't mind like taking us into your mindset as an individual athlete, like I had a snowboarder on here once, and she talked about kind of that. So like, can you take us through like a race and like kind of what goes through your mind when you're doing that?
Well, honestly, the lot goes in your head, like, because you know, like in a team sport, like if I mess up, someone has my back. And being by myself, I warm up sometimes by myself because there'll be some days that, like in conference championships last weekend, like there's an 800 prelims and then there's a finals, and no one else made the finals. So I had to warm up by myself. And usually when you're warming up, you have people to talk to. You talk about other things besides track. And when you're by yourself warming up, preparing for that race, you usually warm up about an hour before your races. You're just in your head. And you see all the other competitors warming up, doing similar drills than you. And, you know, like, I'm about to go against that girl. And it's, like, very stressful because all eyes are on you. Everybody at the place is staring at you. And then you're about to go up, and I take my asthma inhaler. I struggle with that, and I take everything possible, like my ibuprofen, because I'm always in pain from my knees, and I just try to get into the zone as much as possible. Have my banana, have my applesauce, and a lot of the runners get nauseous before races, so you try to control that too. And then I get onto the line, and like, there's nothing I can do now. Once I'm there in the race, it's a whole different story. It's actually harder before the race than during, mentally.
That's fascinating. And do you find like a sort of solace in the fact it's just you, where all like the success is on you, but if something goes wrong, you could kind of not say only blame yourself, but in the end of the day, it's like you're your best friend? Does that make sense?
No, it does, because there'll be times in the races that I say, or after the races I say, I could have done this, but then I'm like, I have so many more races, it's okay, and I learned from it. And I came into college, I got recruited from like a 60 runner to the 400, and starting this year, I actually started transitioning into the 800. And when you go into college, you usually have about 50 to 100 races under your belt, and it's like you have to learn how to run each race, especially when you're running the 60, which is really quick, all the way to the 800. There's so many different race tactics, and I like, at the end of the day, racing one day the 400, one day the 800, one day the 60, it's so hard to know how to run the race. And in the 400 below, you kind of just stay in your lane. But in the 800, you're all competing against each other in a group. I'm not sure if you ever saw people run the 800 before, and people elbow you, and I trip, and I like, sometimes like people fall, and I'm not used to that. So it's definitely stressful with that atmosphere too.
Like, I used to do track in like high school. I was a thrower.
Nice.
I used to throw shot put.
Awesome.
So I would see from afar, and I'd always be like fascinated by the runners. And it reminds me, you also mentioned having asthma and issues with your knees. Like, we'll get into like injury prevention later on, but mind telling us about how you like manage that, or how that factors into your mindset when running?
So I've had asthma my whole life, and it was never that bad until I started doing track. And starting my sophomore year, I started having really bad asthma attacks, and I started feeling like I was really sick all the time. And I was so confused why I always had a sore throat, why I had a stuffy nose, why was I always like coughing up a storm even after like 100 meters. And I was so confused why. So I went to so many doctors, tried so many different inhalers. I've used nebulizers. And this past summer, we actually figured out the perfect steroid to help me before my races. And for the past 2 years, after every single 800, this is going to be like too much information, I would profusely throw up. I would finish the race, and it'd be 10 minutes, I'd be fine, start having an asthma attack, then throw up. And this new steroid that I got from this doctor in New York City finally helped me like like not cure my asthma, but definitely like stabilize it.
Interesting. What exactly is the steroid?
It's like a mix of albuterol and something else. So albuterol is usually what you take before your race or after. I'm not sure what the steroid is. It's a corticosteroid, but it seems to be magic, and props to the doctor for figuring it out for me, because I've tried so many different inhalers, and this really works because I haven't thrown up in a long time, all year.
Huh. And no information is ever too much information on these shows. And I feel like this leads us perfectly into our next topic, which is nursing. And I'm sure that nursing like plays a big role in your understanding of sort of the physiology. So like, tell us about being a registered nurse and your passion for that.
Well, being a registered nurse, I actually never really wanted to be a nurse until COVID hit. I've always wanted to be on TV and do like communications or become a teacher. I've always wanted to be in the middle of speaking. And then when COVID hit, I was like, you know what? I think this should be like what I want to do. So going into college, I was health sciences, and then December of my freshman year, I decided, you know what? My aunt's a nurse practitioner. She loves it. I have so many friends becoming a nurse. Maybe I'll apply and see if I get in. And I got in, and I was so happy. I didn't even think I could get in, because Quinnipiac has one of the top nursing programs in the country, and I was so honored to be able to be part of it. But being a nursing major while doing a Division I sport was awful. It was so bad. And Quinnipiac was actually, my head coach was one of the only coaches that said that I could do track and nursing at the same time, which was so great. And my whole senior year, I never, ever went to practice. And I'd have clinical 2 days a week from 7 to 3, wake up at 5 a.m., and I'd have to go to practice, and I was exhausted. I was never part of the team. And I think struggling through all those things and having to stay up and study till 2 a.m., not being able to hang out with my friends, made me who I am. It made me care better for my future patients, my residents that I work for in the nursing home now.
Fascinating. So how would you say you manage all of that, both, because you mentioned like it was difficult being a part of a team, so like bring us into like managing that while also your studies and trying to be the best athlete you can be?
Well, it was definitely a struggle, because when you run track workouts, you want to be able to compete with people, and you want to be able to have people push you. But doing nursing school and staying up late all the time and being on my feet for 8-9 hours, 2-3 days a week was really difficult for me, and it really made track be hard for me. And actually my junior year spring, I couldn't do track, and I had to take a redshirt year because my asthma and allergies were so bad, and nursing school was actually awful. So I ended up taking a semester off from track and focused on school, and I'm so lucky I did that, because now I can do my 5th year, and now I could work as a nurse. And it was definitely a struggle. All my friends were there for me, because there would be no way I would be here today without my friends here, because nursing school was that bad that I would cry every single night, because it's one of the hardest majors, and especially doing track and having to juggle both of those. And when you're at a track meet all day, you leave at 6 a.m. and don't get back till midnight. It's a long day, you know? And it's like soccer games, you're there for 2 hours. So it's definitely hard. And there would be times that my dad would come to the track meets. He'd drive from New Jersey to Boston, and in between races, I'd go in the car and study flashcards, because I had to get it done. And sometimes people didn't realize that I had to study for hours on end, and my dad would even stay on the phone with me all night studying. And the next day when I had classes all day, I'd be exhausted because I had to go to practice 2-3 hours, got to go to lift, got to get the extra workouts in. So I really struggled, but towards my end of the senior year, I really got a swing of things, and it just practice, and now I can help the underclassmen of how to juggle all of that. So I struggled, but now these other people don't have to struggle as much, because I can teach them and help them out.
Yeah. Shout out your dad.
He's awesome. So he doesn't even know anything about nursing, but he tried really hard for me.
Yeah, which is exactly what good parents should do.
Exactly.
And I feel like it's the key word of adaptability in your whole story. I feel like it is key, and this is the kind of thing, adapting these different situations and managing them all. And it kind of brings me back, you mentioned wanting to do communications. You're a very good speaker. What did you want to do in communications?
I think something with sport broadcasting. I've always pretended to be hello, my name's Alyssa. We're here with at Quinnipiac with men's basketball. Like, I've always wanted to do that. And I used to always practice in the basement with my friends. We would have, like, talent shows, and I would be, like, the host.
Huh.
I always wanted to do that. And I actually, my freshman year, I came to Quinnipiac, like, freshman year of high school, I came to Quinnipiac and did, like, a soccer clinic. And then I also did a tour of, like, the communications and, like, mass media production at Quinnipiac, because that's what I wanted to do. And then I guess throughout high school, I changed my mind because, like, then COVID hit, I wanted nursing. But I came to Quinnipiac first and looked at doing communications and for soccer. So it's crazy how I ended up here. Different major and different sport.
Interesting. Maybe this is like your soft launch for your media career, because Joe and I have worked in media, like in student media, and it's never too late.
Never.
I feel like if you wanted to create content or something like that, or get involved in the sports world, maybe that could be a fun, I don't want to say side hustle, but something in that regards for you.
Definitely.
So yeah, we'll put that out in the world here. And do you mind taking us into your work as a nurse more? I know you mentioned working in retirement homes. Like, I've had other nurses on here as well, so if you don't mind kind of telling us about your own experience.
Yeah, so going into nursing, your first few years is very difficult, and usually it takes about 5 years to become like a really top-notch nurse, because the healthcare field is changing all the time. And usually all my friends now who graduated and didn't come back for their 5th year are all working in hospitals. But for me, I'm working in a nursing home. So it's different than a hospital. And it's a struggle because I only can do the evening shifts, because from 7 to 3, I'm at practice. And I have class things to do. So the only shifts I can pick up is 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. You get there at 3 and you don't leave till 12:30, 1 o'clock, because you have 30 residents to one nurse. And you have to do multiple med passes to every resident. And then sometimes issues happen and you have to go help that one resident, and then you have to go back to what you were doing and you forget. And then you have to do treatment, and it's very exhausting. And then the next day, I'm so exhausted to do track.
Yeah.
So that's why I only try to pick up every other week, and it's hard to like juggle it now with like track meets, because I don't want to pick up a shift to like 1 or 2 nights before the meet, because I'll be exhausted, because it really impacts me for a few days, because you're on your feet. I don't eat, I don't drink the whole time, because I got to be done around 11 with all my tasks, because the next nurse has to come in.
Yeah.
It's definitely a struggle, but I'm having fun. I definitely love it. I am looking forward to working in a hospital. I'm going to start applying to hospitals in New Jersey soon. So I'm excited for that and to learn more.
Yeah, kind of, what's that all taught you? Because I know I've had, like I mentioned, other nurses on here, like having thick skin, having empathy. Like, what are skills that you're learning as being a nurse?
I don't know. I mean, since I've only been a nurse for a little bit, honestly, having compassion and realizing, like, what if it was your family in that bed? And I try to remember, like, I know my grandma's in a nursing home. Like, I want to treat the people that I am taking care for how I would want my family to be taken care for. And it also takes strength, because you have to take care of yourself too, also taking care of 30 other people. So it's definitely a struggle with that. And if you don't take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of them?
Exactly.
And it takes courage, because I am a new nurse and there are things that I don't know. And I have to go on the other unit and tell a nurse, like, listen, like, I don't know how to do this. And they have to say, well, I'll teach you. Because you're thrown on the floor and there's no doctors, there's no nurse practitioners, especially from 3 to 11, because they're all home. They work 7 to 3. So it's very stressful for me, but it's definitely a learning curve. And it's going to be for a long time, especially when I go into the hospital the first time.
Yeah, because I know it's like, even though it's like patients, things could be kind of like stationary or fixed, you're dealing with people, and it's working through like some problems you might not be prepared for. Like, have you experienced any situations like that?
Like, so I am in a nursing home, and as I said, and it's their home. These people live here. They're living here for the rest of their lives. And in a hospital, you're only there for a short period of time. So you do this, and you do this. But in the nursing home, they want things done at certain times, because they want to go to sleep at 7. Some people want to go to sleep at 10. And you kind of have to makeshift your shift to whatever they want. However they like it. Like, they need to have pudding at this time, and you could be with another person at 9 o'clock, but at 9:05 you have to go somewhere else. So it's a lot. It's like a mental game, just like track. And I'm trying to learn from track, of being by myself in the track to being myself on the floor. So track has definitely helped me with that because I'm working with only aides and there's no superior there. So I'm the superior. And yes, there's like a charge nurse, but she's on the other end of the nursing home. So if I need her, she's not going to be right there for me. So
yeah, I'm mad at myself for not making that correlation between it being individual in track, individual in nursing. Like, what other overlaps do you notice?
Honestly, I guess teamwork, because yes, track isn't a team sport, but when I do the relays, you're there for each other. When I'm on the track and people are cheering me on, that's teamwork. I see them and I'm excited that they're there cheering me on. When I'm cheering other people on, people like it. And in the nursing home, knowing that I have those aides there for like to help me makes it so much easier, because if I'm dealing with something with one resident, they're there for me. And I say, hey, can you please help me with XYZ? And they're there for you. And same with my teammates at track. After my races, I get horrible lactic acid burning from my glutes all the way down to my legs. And I'm on the ground, sometimes hysterical crying, in so much pain. And I can't take off my spikes. And I point to my spikes and everybody knows, like, you got to go help Alyssa because I can't do it. I can't do it myself. And so knowing that they're there for me, that they're able to help me when I'm in so much pain, just like the aides when I'm struggling with all these 30 people that I have to take care of, they both connect like that. So it's awesome to have my teammates and also awesome to have these aides to help me.
And that's all very powerful, and I feel like leads us well into our next topic, which is what you mentioned before, injuries. So kind of overcoming the injuries you've had, and I know you have a great passion for injury prevention, so if you don't mind telling us about that.
Well, I try my best to have injury prevention. Sometimes it's hard not to occur, but definitely strength training, eating as much as I can. I'm into protein. I try to have as much protein as possible. I live off campus, so I try to eat as many vegetables as possible, as much sleep. I take all the vitamins, and I'm trying to do everything that I can to prevent it. And I go to the trainers all the time, the athletic training room, to prevent that. Even if I don't have an injury, I'll still go to get a deep tissue massage in my quad or get dry needling in my knees. You have to do everything possible, and you can't prevent it by just going to practice. It actually happens outside of practice and outside the sport. Because if you don't sleep, you don't eat, you don't get treatment, there's a slim chance that you're not going to get hurt. Because you can't go into a hard workout not properly, like, feeling great, you know?
Yeah. How sports psychology is impacting your career as both an athlete and a nurse.
When you're an athlete, you think so many thoughts, thousands and thousands of thoughts when you don't even know that you are. And knowing that you have to do something for a team makes it so much harder. And when you're at big conference track meets, you are scoring points for your team to potentially become MAC champions. And for the 4x400 relay, we've won a few times the past few years. Knowing that you have to do this for your team and it gets into your head makes it so much harder, because I'm the anchor in the 4x4. And how it works is the first person goes, the next person, and I'm waiting there to go, and the next person goes, and I'm in my head and psyching myself out. Like, I have to do this. This is the last event of the meet. What do I do? If I don't run my best, I'm not going to win the relay for them. And it's so stressful. And sometimes when you go into races, go into games, saying, like, it doesn't matter, you end up doing well. So if you have a more relaxed vibe than anxious and so stressed all the time, may be better for you. Because no matter what you're gonna do fine. It's not life or death. Track is fun, sports are fun, and you're supposed to enjoy what you do. And it doesn't matter if you don't do well. It's okay. Like, I've had poor races, I've done amazing races, and it doesn't stop me. I want to keep racing. It's so much fun. That's why I keep doing it, and I wish I could keep doing it more.
So be nonchalant.
Exactly. And it's scary because sometimes I'm, like, so calm before the 800, and the girls I run against are usually, like, the mile up, and they do sprints before, and I'm just, like, standing here, and, like, I guess, like, the referees, they're like, are you going to go do a sprint? I'm like, no. And they have girls, like, grabbing their legs, like, making noises. And I'm just, like, standing here, like, getting ready to race. And I feel like people try to, like, stress you out and try to talk to you. And that's what girls like to do. But if I just keep to myself and say, like, it's going to be okay, like, then it's going to be okay. And I'll speak to myself sometimes, and I'll untie my shoe like 5 times every single time before a race, because I just think that if I just keep untying it, then I'll be fine and I'll do well. So lots of mental things that I do before a race that I think is going to impact me.
Like little ticks.
Yeah.
Like I remember there was like an NFL kicker who was about to go kick a potential game-winning field goal, and before he put on his helmet, he kept adjusting his hair. So he would like run his hand through his hair, then do it again, then do it again, and do it again, then put his helmet on. So it's kind of like I feel like there's a correlation with that. Those like little ticks, and it's interesting you brought up like girls trying to talk to you to psych you out. Is there like trash talk? And
not really. They try to be so nice to you. Like before the relay last weekend or 2 weekends ago, they were like, "You are so gorgeous. Like, I wish I looked like you." But they're trying to be nice, so you're nice to them. So you just gotta like ignore them, because like when they're really nice, sometimes girls would be like really nice back and be like, "Oh, I feel bad. Like I don't wanna beat them." You just have to channel them. Leave them alone. Like try to be nice, but they definitely try to get in your head so much, and that's happened to me before. Like in the beginning of the season, some girl was speaking to me a lot, and she wasn't being too nice, and I think it really impacted my race, because I was like, what do I do? Like she's in my head, but then I realized, ignore. There's no point. You know?
So it's kind of like those like subtle mind games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like with dudes, they just overtly hate on each other. I feel like with girls, it's maybe a bit more like cerebral, like that. And you also bring up being an anchor. I feel like that would be like a sick nickname.
It would be.
Anchor Alyssa, the
That'd
double
be cool.
A's.
Yeah, the anchor's fun. Definitely the most like stressful part of the race for me, I think. But it's like, I don't know, like on the Quinnipiac track and field pages, when we win the races, I have the camera at me, and I'm like this, like, come here, I give a kiss. Like, I love that stuff. And my roommates last year, like, messaged me and like, Alyssa, you love the camera. So it was definitely fun because we got to do it. We won my junior year indoors, my senior year indoors, my senior year outdoors, and then my 5th year indoors. So it was definitely exciting to be on the camera and do that.
Well, you're clearly very talented in front of the camera. I think the cameras just follow you. And you talk about winning. Like, where have you gone with meets for these like big time meets?
So we go all over, and whenever we go to meets, there are so many schools, and some of the meets are low key, some of them are insane. Like with like big time schools, big time runners, there's always professional runners there. And one of my favorite meets that I've ever been to is Penn Relays at UPenn, and we actually broke the SMR record, sprint medley relay, last year, and it's a huge stadium, and their stadium is insane, and we broke the record, and it was a most amazing experience ever. And of course, after that race, I was throwing up. That was before I had the inhaler. There's actually a picture of me. I guess there's like professional camera guys around there, and me over the trash can. It was so embarrassing. And one of the guys came over. One of like the workers was like, "You need to go see the doctor." And my oxygen dropped to like 93. Normal oxygen's like 95 to 100. And even though I went through all that pain, it was so amazing. And we're going back to UPenn this spring, and it's definitely one of the best experiences ever.
I'm sure that was like the nicest throw up you've ever had,
especially breaking the record.
And do you mind explaining what the record exactly was?
So the record is it's a relay, kind of like the 4x4, and how it works is you have 4 girls running it. There's a girl that runs a 200 meter, another girl that runs a 200 meter, then the girl runs a 400 meter, and then the 800 meter, which was me. So I was the last leg again, which was very stressful. And we ran around, like, I think it was like 4 minutes, like something seconds, and I was the last leg. And it's funny because I ran like 2:14, 2:15, and I'm like half the race because they just ran like only 2 laps before that, and it's about 4 laps the whole race. So definitely exciting.
Yeah, and you said that was the Division 1 record?
It was awesome. The Quinnipiac one. So all-time Quinnipiac. And I actually have on the top 10 in about 10 races at Quinnipiac of top 10 record. And we just broke the MAC record of all time at the MAC championship for the 4x4. And we broke the Quinnipiac 4x4 record too. So our goal is to keep breaking records this year, because I want this to be the year of breaking records. I want to break the record again, and it's so exciting when you get to do that. Because after the race, it's not as painful when you see you ran well. It's definitely mental too.
Yeah.
You know, after a race, if I did horrible, I'm like in so much more pain, because after you finish and you do well, your adrenaline's up, and then it wears away the pain. So there's definitely pros and cons of racing.
Because life will always bring pain, but it's what that pain brings you, which is, in this case, records on records. It makes it feel much smoother, makes it feel much easier, I should say. So maybe this will become the most viewed Zicast and continue to break records.
Hopefully.
And getting into kind of more personal things about you, how about you tell us something people might not know about you, like a fun fact?
So I am the biggest eater ever. I love food. The minute I wake up, I'm going to think about what I'm eating for dinner. And I am 75% Italian and 25% Polish, but I lean towards more my Italian side.
Exact same thing here, actually.
It's so much better. Sorry, everyone. But every year I go to my grandparents' house, and we make homemade gnocchi. We make homemade strufli, which is like little dough balls with honey. And like, I'm so into my Italian culture. I don't speak Italian. My sister does, and I want to learn one day. But I love it so much, and I want to keep doing it every year, and hopefully one day pass it on to other people.
Yeah, that is like the runner thing, because you burn so many calories, it makes you want to eat.
Eat more, yeah.
And it's interesting. Like, I'm Polish and Italian as well.
Wow.
Family's also much more Italian than Polish, but that's where the last name comes from, which is nice when creating a podcast title. And moving in, we've talked about your love for like nursing, sports psychology. So tell us, what's one thing you love and one thing you strongly dislike?
I love overcoming big obstacles. So going through those ACLs and going through little injuries, and when I move past that, I love it. I feel so good about myself. And struggling for studying for a test, thinking I'm going to fail out of the nursing program, and then realizing like I can do this is like one of the best things. It definitely boosts my ego on the track and in the nursing world. And something I dislike, I don't know. It could be give me an idea.
Like, even like a pet peeve.
Maybe when someone chews really loud. I hate that so much. But I don't
like chewing like a cow.
Yeah, it's awful. But I don't really know. I'm trying to think of something I don't like food related, but I eat everything, so I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, that's interesting. When you bring up with the nursing program, is there kind of like always, like, speaking students like in med programs, is there always like that perpetual fear of like one bad test and you're out of the program?
All the time, because when I was a junior, they started a new rule that you needed to have an average of a 72 on your exams. So say you got like an 82, then an 84, and then a 65, you add them all up and divide them by 3. And if that isn't a 72, then, or 72.5, you fail out. And that's what is so stressful, because you take tests and you get the grade back, like, oh, on to the next. Because in the past, they never had that average rule. Because usually you count, like, your homeworks outweigh the poor test grades. But the nursing program is definitely getting much harder the past 2 years, because they want to excel and have everyone pass their board exam. So after you finish one test, you're always worried about the next. And especially when I took my boards exam, you graduate in May and you wait about maybe 4 to 6 weeks, and it's like the biggest test of your whole life. You're in a room, you're in a cubicle, and you have to be quiet, you have to wear headphones. If you have to go to the bathroom, you have to raise your hand. Everything's locked in a box. And it was definitely the most stressful experience, worse than a track meet. Like, I never want to have to ever go through it ever again. And when you take your boards exam, how it works is you could have between 85 and 150 questions. And if you stop at 85, that means you did really, really well, or you did really, really bad. If you go past 85, the computer is giving you a chance to keep going. So I guess it's like they did some like math equation to like help you keep going and redeem yourself. And I stopped at 85. So I was like, did I pass or did I fail? And I walked out saying I failed. I was a wreck. And then a few days later, I found your results and I passed. So track and nursing is so like correlated. Like if I didn't run track, I would not be as good as I am as a nurse now, because it definitely has taught me so many things.
And that's like what you just explained with the test. It's like such a different challenge because track meets is very active. I know it's a lot of waiting around, but very active where that you're like seated. It's with the headphones on. It's like a severance.
It was actually horrible. And because you walk in, you have to do like a fingerprint. You have to prove that like you are you. It's like so scary. And there's so many people, so many different ages in there. And I could be done at 85 and there could people be there for 2-3 more hours going up to 150 because you have like 4 to 5 hours to take the exam. And I took it in 2 hours. And some people could have been still there when I was gone.
Yeah.
And some people could have been finished before me. So just seeing people get up during the exam was so stressful because you're concerned like, what am I doing wrong? So I never want to do that ever again. And props to any nurse that has to go through that. It's so stressful. I'm sure it's the same for becoming a doctor too, or a lawyer.
Yeah. I applaud you for going through that because I know like nursing, but I hear from nursing students, you kind of see everything. So even something like this, and of course, passing that test set you up moving forward. So how about you tell us like what are some of your hopes and dreams professionally or in general?
So luckily with my master's of nursing, I can become a lab professor, a clinical professor, and a manager of a hospital. And the good thing about being in this program is the next step after my master's, I can get my doctorate nurse practitioner. So hopefully after a few years of like learning how to be a great nurse, I want to go down that road and hopefully maybe do it at Quinnipiac because I've been here for my undergrad, my master's, and that's what I want to do, nurse practitioner. And I'm still figuring out what I want to do, like what type of nurse I want to be. And after being in the nursing home, and I knew this before, I was thinking maybe pediatrics or labor and delivery because I love little kids and the life of like maternity is so amazing that I want to be a part of that. And I've always wanted to be a coach. So maybe being with the mother as she's giving birth, coaching her through it, I connect that to track, just how I coach and cheer on my teammates. And being with even like little kids, being there for them, talking to them, can also connect to track too.
So it would all just come full circle.
Exactly.
Back to Quinnipiac, coaching, and then bringing that sports, and then just the life experience of nursing, and just molding that all together.
Exactly.
That's very inspiring. And to bring us into a question that sounds kind of funny after hearing all that, what are some of your favorite movies?
It's going to sound crazy, but maybe The Hangover. It's so
That's not
funny.
Crazy.
It's so funny, and I love them so much. And my favorite actor he's not in the movie, but Adam Sandler. If he's in a movie, I will watch it. Like, I don't know, he's the most funniest guy ever, and he seems so heartfelt, especially with like all of his daughters. His daughters have gotten in movies now, and I just feel like as I've grown up, I've watched him and I've seen him change, like from when he was younger all the way up. And he's a great actor. So I definitely like comedy movies.
It's interesting because you mentioned watching Catherine Carter's episode before coming on there. She was a big Adam Sandler fan, and she mentioned Grown Ups.
Oh, really? That's so
her favorite
funny.
movie. So it's funny that
great.
That overlap. And overall, Alyssa, I'd like to thank you so much for coming on here.
Thank you for having me.
Of
it was
course.
Great.
I feel like you'd have a great one for this. Do you have any like words of motivation or any plugs to give the audience?
Well, everything happens for a reason. Only time will tell. And just keep putting 110% into it every single day. Whether you don't want to get out of bed, you don't want to study for that test, it's so worth it in the end. Staying up late, getting that extra workout in, and being the best you can be is so worth it because I'm so happy where I am right now. And if I didn't do all those things, then I probably wouldn't be where I am. So everything is worth it. Do it. Just who cares? Just do it.
And that's a great microcosm of what this whole episode's been because I've been very inspired hearing your entire story, what you've been able to do, learning so much about how all of this, like being an athlete, being a nurse, how all of this correlates. And it's very, very profound. Everything you said is very profound. I appreciate you again for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. It was so much fun.
Of course. And as always, this is Ryan Zikes with the Zicast, where everyone has a story, signing off. Thank you so much for watching.